Aaron Shaver, it is genuinely good to see you.
It's been a minute, huh?
Yeah, it has been a minute. Normally
Best couple years of my life here.
I'll make a joke about, or one of us will make a joke about like, oh no, you again. But it's been a little.
It's been, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
It does, and we're putting that in practice today. So we'll do this for a while. We'll get sick of each other again.
Yeah,
it'll be great. Well, we have a fun topic today, inspired by, as many things are in this internet age, by a meme that I saw that I thought was funny, and then said, "There's a topic there, maybe." So I recreated it. I softened the language, the salty language, a little bit. But here it is. It's going to layer over the top of, so people get to not see us for a second here.
Ooh.
And so here are the 3 career phases. And phase 1, when I'm starting out, man, when will I get invited to those important?
I'm being left out of this important meeting.
Yeah, I don't know how they make these decisions, and I can't wait till I get included in that. Then phase 2 is, this is awesome. I'm getting invited to those important meetings. And then phase 3, which I feel myself very much in, of what could I do? What scheme could I create to get out of all of these stupid meetings that I'm really have to sit in? Who can I rope into being my proxy in these meetings? So, but that got me thinking. Our topic today is sort of advice at every phase or every step of a cybersecurity career. I guess generally it could be IT as well, but so that's it. We'll get a little more into it, but that'll be our fun for today. So here we go. All right, so we're going to stick sort of with those 3 career phases. I'm going to add a fourth, or a first one at the beginning, actually, which is, there's the breaking in part of and I run into this a lot. Like, how do I even get one of those?
Yeah, you sent me this list just a minute ago, and I'm going to bring it up here.
Okay.
I need to know what I'm substantially disagreeing with.
Yeah. Okay, good. So this is my premise today is there are actually, I think, 4 sort of phases. There's the, phase 1 of, I'm not even in cybersecurity yet, but either I'm doing something else, or, I'm packing trucks, or I had this, I'm a UPS driver today. How do I get one of those sweet cybersecurity jobs that I'm really interested in? And then we're going to go into early, mid, and later phase. Those being the basic 4. I'm not in yet. I'm early. I'm mid, and I'm late. And so that's the premise. What would be some of our advice?
I see your premise here.
Okay.
I see where you're headed.
So we're going to start with and I get this a goodly amount. How do I break into this field of cybersecurity? You get that every once in a while when people know that you do the cybers.
Yeah. I just had that this morning.
Okay. And
How
what
do I
would
how
you,
do I get my son into this business?
right.
Mhm.
And what's your advice in those cases?
Well, it's kind of a, I have a different perspective
Run
on it.
away. No.
Yeah, no. I've had a variety of experiences, and I say a lot of stuff people don't agree with, which is fine, I guess.
It's your unique role here.
I guess so. Or just saying dumb stuff. Um, I think for young people, a lot of the people that I've seen do best in cybersecurity, a lot of coworkers that I've had that have done that I just really respect, don't start with higher education. And I know that that's a like that's this is I should be canceled now. That I should never be on the show again. But I think that that's a tough place to start. Um, and when we're getting into cybersecurity, that's a very broad, generalized, um, statement. And even the certifications that we look at, require experience, and we've
Right.
mentored a lot of people through certifications. Nowhere in there does it say and must have this level of college degree. In fact, in some cases, they don't even count that as experience.
Right.
And so I always
CISSP does, but that's a very advanced career cert.
that's
That's a
not an entry level
no, it's a mid to late,
certification. Yeah.
and they will count, but only from certain program. It's
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm with you on that
But
premise.
they give preferential treatment to in the field experience. And
Yeah.
so I think it's really about finding the right skill. What is that one skill that you have or want to have? And cybersecurity is so broad. It could be
Yeah.
apply to smart TVs, the cloud, it could be, Bluetooth, it could be, there's just like so many different areas.
Right.
It's like it's almost like picking that area and trying it out. And what is the journey to actually developing some hard skills? Because I know, we have a channel of a bunch of professionals that are trying to hire people. And I think if I'll try to summarize. I'm yammering on here. um if I had an employee that showed up that had no college degree, but was like, look at my Python skills and what I can do to automate your security, versus somebody that was like, I'm not exactly sure how to log into a console, but look at this certification or degree that I have. I would definitely take the person who has a skill, demonstrated skill in cybersecurity.
Yeah. I'm going to modify, or I'm going to do the less controversial version of what you just said, which is I'm
That's
going to
very good.
agree with you on education. I have worked in big stuffy companies where, all things being equal, there is a hard and fast requirement to prefer folks with a formal education. So take
Well, I
that.
will agree with you as you get onto your other, like your mid tier and later career. I do see the value in it. But for
Right.
an entry level position, I don't know. I don't see so many organizations that are like, we'll pass on our second shift SOC person who has real threat hunting skills. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it
Yeah.
happens, but it seems
I
relatively rare.
I have seen it. I have.
Ooh,
I'm,
ouch.
yeah, I've been in the organizations that require, and I'm with you. And
That's
what I
rough
would
for
say
them.
is, and here's where when I'm looking through, I do like that there's a place for it. To me, it's. I think you should do it at some point in your career, and it's where and how, and increasingly,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And if it's early, here's where, if you're really serious about cyber, I actually like some of the more practical.
Hmm.
Here in Indiana, in the Midwest where I am, there's Ivy Tech. There are these programs that are more vocational, essentially, and that sometimes in higher ed, that word vocational is a bad word, but it's not a bad word to me. Of like, no, we're going to teach you
I
actual
don't
job
know, man.
skills.
I've like this is my
Yeah,
experience.
no.
Like I do have many advanced degrees. They came in my 30s. Like
Right.
had too much energy and wanderlust, and like I just couldn't be nailed down like
Yeah.
that. But we just put a couple folks in a great program right now that is it's offered by Google through Coursera, but it is Python for cybersecurity. And I'll tell you what, you want to talk about fast, practical skills that you can put to use, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think at the entry, and that's kind of how I'm talking about
Yeah.
breaking in, right? I see that as today, probably if you had to pick one path, great. If you can pick many, right? But if you have to pick one path, that's the
One
path I'd
thing.
pick.
Yeah. I'm with you there of I would err on the what can you do, and it needs to be something. There
Yeah.
needs to be some one thing, and so that's finding what your interest is, what your path, what, like, I could do that's fun, I could do that for a while. And so if it's some Python work, if it's you know learning about bug bounties, and figuring out a little bit of, I got a little bit of, it doesn't have to be advanced, but I have some app security chops, or
Mhm. I
that,
would say,
sort
like,
of
from a
thing.
general perspective, and why I pick on Python a little bit is because there is such a talent shortage in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
If you have any ability to automate anything security related, you're worth 10 times
Oh,
your
you can
work
do that. Oh,
effort.
good.
Like,
Come
oh,
on.
okay,
Here,
come on.
here, here.
We
Let's
don't
go.
care. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So you could do this thing and we don't need more people? Correct.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the break in. Like,
Okay.
learn that thing and probably you got a lot of opportunity ahead of you.
Got it. Okay. So my next step is that the early career and the prototype of this, in bigger organizations, this has been, you actually got that SOC analyst job, which you discover is mind numbing, and not quite as much fun as it sounded like in the
Yeah.
posting. Cyber, well, it's managing tickets a lot, and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it's like security help desk, right? Like,
Yeah.
I did my time in the help desk. I know the pain of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe it's another fun one: identity and access management.
Sure.
I set up and reset usernames and passwords for
We make
people.
it sound so glamorous.
Yeah, yeah. And so career advice for for people at that level. I'm
Hmm.
going to go first on this one, and then you'll
Yeah.
give your controversy. Here I'm encouraging people. One is, start with, be good at your damn job. And so, for me to have, where do I go from here, conversations with people is like, hey, step one, before I give you new, show me you're knocking it out of the park on, you should be good at the thing you're doing, and you should be a person people are like, wow, you're doing a good job, you're demonstrating. And then I'm always, I'm looking for a combination. This is an age old question of, like, I have that one thing that I know how to do, or that I'm practicing in my job.
Hmm.
Do I go wide, or do I go deep? And my answer is normally yes. You need to go, you always need to be getting a little wider and a little deeper, meaning, if I have my Python, like, I'm getting better and better and better at Python. And
Hmm.
what's the other thing
Yeah,
that
like
I
maybe
know?
I should go broader and understand networking technologies
Correct.
more, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
operating. Yeah. Yeah.
Or I'm
No, I totally agree with that.
learning a little bit about pen testing, and so it's that looking, and sometimes you're going to have an employer that supports that training, but I'm always looking for people, and this is just the reality of it, is the people that succeed here are the people that set up their own test labs.
Hmm.
I think about my success early in the career. It's because I did the stuff after work as well, because it was interesting to me, but also I knew that it would
Hmm.
help me out.
Hmm. Agreed.
Yeah,
Is it my turn? Or you?
yeah.
Oh, okay. So I really like the first one that you had, and then I hate the rest of these that you have here. Um, so yeah, I sort of agree with you on this place. I think this is when we talk about, and hey, you have to have 10,000 hours to become a master at something.
Hmm.
I think this is that phase of your career where deep work is important.
Yeah.
And the next steps that you have, your mid and late career, are all predicated on going up through management. I don't think that's for everybody.
Oh, you may be misreading me, but I'll get to that too.
We'll get there. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think this is the point of deep work, and this is really where I think, as we learn about ourselves in our career, we really have to identify with, do I love the deep work, problem solving,
Yeah.
or do I love the leading people to a mission kind of thing? And we start to kind of like bifurcate our career, probably further than that. But I would almost like give a word of caution to people in this phase of their career of, hey, these big paychecks and the like, let me in the meeting and I want to do these things.
Yeah.
I get it. You're not going to believe me. Look super attractive from outside.
No, it's not.
If you love deep work, love the deep work,
Yeah.
and stay out of the meetings. That's not where the deep work
Yeah.
happens. And
Well,
and don't
this part's a little bit about the transition and you need to understand that in step one of career of, well, where is step two going?
Mhm.
And here, enthusiastically going to agree with you. I encourage people to not go into there's this cliche of, I want to advance my career. I want to go and dot, dot, dot. Therefore, I want to go into management. And,
right.
and I
Yes.
encourage people, like, you do not want to go into management. And
Nope.
some of the reasons for that: one, you are not going to get paid more. Every career advancement I've had,
You sure aren't.
the raw amount of money might look
Yeah.
like more, but on a basis of, on a per hour basis, it was
Nope.
not more.
For the amount of time you put in and the amount of life that you lose,
Correct.
and yeah.
And
Yep.
definitely when you price it based on stress, those larger paychecks came.
Not
So
worth
that
it.
that was
Yep.
one. And then the second one, and here where you're like, put in the hours, I have found, most especially in cybersecurity, as you know, I've been a vice president in a Fortune 50 company where, you know, people early in their career, well, that's arriving, and I had individual contributors. I had
Yeah.
more the people who went super deep in their
Mhm.
careers, who the difference between what they made per year, because I knew what everybody's salaries were on my team.
Yeah.
The
And what
difference
you
between
made?
their
Yeah.
salary and my salary was truly a rounding error.
Mhm.
Was not enough money to even, for you to worry or care about, basically. And
Yeah.
so, there are these different paths of that.
I think I took a different path than you did.
Yeah.
Like, in that I have not. I don't have it in my resume to say I've worked at any of these prestigious companies. My claim to fame is more very deep work in specific areas. I can tell you, of the things that fell into like steps 3 and 4 in my career that you have in there, I made more than my bosses did.
Yeah. And that,
Just because, like, you have a thing you can do and you
right.
either can or you can't do it.
Yeah.
It's a very discrete skill set.
Gets priced by value. And
Yep,
especially,
right.
and that's the other thing of that path might increasingly exists inside of large corporations, but also, and then there's
Mhm.
when you get really good at something, and most especially in cybersecurity, there are all sorts of paths that are a little less about big companies and more, if you have a thing that's of value,
Yeah.
of, there you can find all sorts of ways to make maybe as much money as you want to make out of those things as you get better and better and practice it for those
Mhm.
10,000 hours or whatever.
Mhm.
But so having talked people out of it, you know, then what's your version of middle career? Riff on that a little bit more.
Yeah, so my mid-career, let's see, you've got on there kinda like senior leader, manager kinda things. I
Yeah,
did.
and I think these are also expert paths, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Practitioners too.
So I would change it a little bit from, putting titles on it like that. I
Yeah.
did go through that mid-career piece, but I spent a decade and a half, like literally in like optical photonics and like very deep, deep, deep in networking and security associated with it. And I would say like that was a very inwardly like deep focus point of my career. Then then it became more outward focus. I wasn't a great manager of people. I'm still
Yeah.
not known for that. Um, but it became more how do I use my understanding that I've developed and invested in to help other people
Yeah.
accomplish things. So that could be, in my experience, that was like customer facing. Like I was using my knowledge of networking and security and data centers to help people accomplish goals in healthcare, in manufacturing and financing and say, hey, kind of here's the path forward. Um, so I would kind of characterize that mid-career as like more becoming more externalized with
Yeah.
that skill set.
Yeah. I think here, and again, I put in the notes of how people traditionally think about it. And this is just
Mhm.
my basis of experience in company of mentoring, younger or earlier career people who think that they know what advancement looks like. And to me, it's, I would agree. It's certainly continue to get better at your core craft. But here's where I think, mid-career, you can do it earlier, but in the mid-career where you're really more, to me, working on buffing down the rough spots
Mhm.
and expanding outside of that singular area of focus, which and for me, this is where education did. My undergraduate
Mhm.
degree was so helpful. It was in elementary education,
Mm.
that prepared me better than you might imagine for IT and cybersecurity. um, but I got an MBA in the mid career and I didn't have to go do that. But it wasn't about the paper. It was about me being in starting to be in budget meetings and not having a clue of
Yep.
like, what are you even talking about? Have you calculated a return on what's the return
Mhm.
on investment of this
Yeah.
project? And not just like, how do I do the calculation in Excel? Although that is important, but also like to even be able to have a
But at that point,
conversation.
that choice was based on gaps that you identified in
Correct.
your ability. Yeah, and the same
Yeah.
thing happened for me, except I saved my undergrad until kind of that phase of my career.
Right.
And I'll be honest, this may be unique to me. I would have never learned the things that I learned to the depth that I learned them in higher education.
Yeah. Well, and I will say I've seen there's a model of MBA where, there are people, this is becoming less the norm, but there are people that do their undergrad and a year or two later go get an MBA. And I was more of a,
Mhm.
later in life, and I felt like I valued it more than a lot of the people
I
around me.
100%
Because
agree.
I could go straight back to like, no, I have this meeting with finance this week, and with this right here, right now is
Yeah, and I need to know how to do this so that I can do my
because
job. Yes.
I
Yes.
actually had a CFO look at me and say, "You don't know how to calculate return on investment, do you?" And I'm
Mhm.
like, "No." It's like, dude, I
Yeah,
don't have
but
the time to teach you that
for
stuff.
me, it took a minute, or to a decade or whatever, to be able to admit to myself how ignorant I was about a
Yeah,
lot of things, and I just really loved the deep work, and
yeah.
that's yep.
Here, generally, I would say, whether it's you're still locked into that management progression or not, even if you're just an engineer or, a super awesome engineer becoming more of a Jedi, here's where I think you got to look up, if not even earlier, but look up and look around your business and say,
Mhm.
you got to know how the cake gets baked in your organization. So, like, develop relationships outside of your little, fiefdom of security or technology or whatever,
Yeah,
and learn something about sales and customer service and human resources and
and how your
all.
choices impact them and the it's a big, big world.
Right.
Oh,
And
yep.
that to me is always the, whether when I've been in a position, whether I'm looking for super awesome Jedi technology people, or whether I'm looking for the person who's gonna, like, yes, you can break into the management track if you're really, 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 if I can't talk you out of that. That's what I'm looking for. It's
Yeah,
great. I have all sorts of cliches in my head of the person who, like, you're a great technologist, but I am never, ever, ever going to put you in charge of anybody else's work
sure.
but your own. And whether that's a management role or just, sort of the most important engineer on the team that other people are
Hmm.
forced to listen to and follow the template of.
Hmm.
And that's what I'm looking for in the mid career of, people that are, expanding their definition of how they work. Cool. Late career, and you and I get a little bit of, I'm still in. I feel like I'm still in this phase, and any advice is more, peer advice for
Hmm.
people that are doing it. But I have learned things here and there. I will say too, usually the learning at every step along the way is by making a ton of mistakes.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like, oh
painful. Yeah.
boy, I was a horrible manager early on.
Well, is it? I mean, I don't know if you've heard the saying, "Follow the leader with all the scars."
Yeah,
I mean, that's
no, I
why.
love
That's
it.
why. Yeah,
Yeah,
like, yeah, if you've got a leader that doesn't have any scars, that just means they haven't tried it before.
yeah. So late career, you go. I mean, you've done some of this. Of, had people come and sit on the couch and say, "Dr. Shaver, where did my career go so wrong?"
Hmm, that
What
happens
now?
more frequently than I intended it to. Yeah, and I think a lot of what you have here actually loosely follows, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And really what you're getting to, if you've made it this far, I don't not everybody goes through all of this,
Right.
right? There are people that are just like, look, I broke in, that's good enough for me.
I'm good.
I got to my early career and I'm just gonna do this thing forever. That's great. One's not better than the other, but
Yeah.
like this late in career for me is really about this. Okay, I have this meaningful, like deep work mastery of subjects. I now have this broader understanding of the world and how I impact my peers, how this relates to creating my deep skills and work create value for people um, in various different ways. And it's really about fusing those two together and saying, like, so my life's been dedicated to this subject. What kind of legacy, what kind of
Yeah.
mark does that leave on this world, on the people around me? And it really is, not to be too much of a cliche, that self actualization in your career
Yeah.
of who am I and what do I want out of this? I have these two things, these two experiences now, and for what purpose do I use that? And is it, that I help uh a corporation better posture themselves as by being an internal employee? Is it that I have, you know, new territories to conquer to solve problems? It's really kind of that. I would say for me, this has been the most exploration, more so than even the deep work or the external work that was done of how do I fuse these into being able to say that I made a meaningful
Yeah.
difference with my skills and experiences.
Yeah. I would totally agree. And for me, I tell the old Uncle Brian stories. I will say, and not just being self deprecating, I look back and I was kind of a terrible person in some ways earlier in my career. I
Yeah.
think about would I have enjoyed working with me or working for me
I'm
earlier.
not super proud of my early career.
I would not, because
Yeah.
everything, I viewed my work as really a means to an ends,
Mm.
and my work with other people was too often a means, like, what do I need to say to you to get you to do what I want you to
Yeah,
do?
what I accomplished I'm proud of. Who I was, I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
proud of. Yeah.
But I will say this late stage of the career, mid to late, where, that stuff people say about teamwork and culture, which was sort of like, yeah, 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 stuff to me earlier in my career, that I get to this phase and it's like, I really care about, like I actually, that stuff actually matters. And I care about building cultures of organizations where people want to come to work. And I really care about being able to point to some people and their accomplishments aren't my accomplishments,
Mm-hmm.
but that I can have some little piece of, I
Mm-hmm.
think I helped that person.
I think
You
so.
know, I
Yeah.
think their career got better. That wasn't as meaningful to me early on. And it's, you know, you kind of come to this point of, I think those things more and more, I'm convinced, or, you know, yeah, certainly we gotta pay the mortgage,
Yeah.
pay the rent along the way, but that's getting to be this, like, maybe that's the only stuff that mattered when it's all set. Nobody's going to care
Mm-hmm.
about some project that I thought was super cool.
Nope.
But the impact on people and and a little bit on organizations, but
Mm-hmm.
mostly on people, is the only stuff that preserves years and years later. Okay. That's
Well,
all
I think
I have to
I
say
think
about
we've done it there. I like that. That was a little more philosophical.
Yeah,
That's my sweet spot. You know, I like that.
I that was good. Well, I appreciate the time. I hope the half dozen people who hear this will appreciate it as well. And
They're all drinking hard liquor
yeah,
right now.
and we'll be back. We'll be back next week. Hey, you have your own. You know, we have a few people live stream listening, but whatever platform you're on, I'd love to see, you know, your own sort of thoughts of what we got wrong and right. You know, drop those in the comments on LinkedIn or YouTube, or don't, whatevs, you know.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
All
good
right.
seeing you, man. All right.
Good
Bye-bye.
talk. Bye.